right back. What's good, bro? You remember me? Yeah, it's been a minute. Hold on real quick. Yeah. Alright. It's been a minute. It's been a minute though. I ain't been streaming on TikTok in a while. They've been harassing me and stuff. Let's see what we got. What we got video-wise today. Hold on. That should look weird though. Hold on, let me see right here. I guess it looks fine. Oh, you gotta, he said never got any merch. You gotta send me your address. DM me on Instagram. Or DM me here. Send me your address. Alright. I think he just wants to be a troll. You could be a troll too if you just want to like pop up and ask me for merch every now and again too. That's cool too. I ain't tripping. But if you're gonna be a troll, send me your address so I can see the merch if you want the merch. Damn, that took forever to pop up. This message that I didn't read anyway. Say cheese. What the freak? Hold on. Alright, let's see what Charleston White's talking about real quick.
Oh man, y'all, he's back. Y'all begged for him, y'all asked for him, y'all been DMing me all this whole month. He's back, man. Charleston White is back. That's on crazy. Say Cheese, what's man. How you doing?
Already, and I'm getting a little bit more handsomer. Every time I get on this motherfucker, I'm getting just a little bit more handsomer and the more handsomer.
Most deaf, you know, I damn near see you every day now in the gym.
Yeah.
And man, I mean, you always had the swag and the charisma, and now you always knew how to throw a punch. But now, from the beginning to now, man, it's light and day.
Listen, and I can fight.
I can fight.
Think about this, my nigga. From I was in the boys' home from age 14 to 21. I claimed to be a gang leader. I claimed to had been a rolling 60, right? So think about all them years I was incarcerated. All the other boys who was in there with me from Houston, Dallas, San Antonio, Waco, Amarillo, Fort Worth, Arlington, Grant. Homie, think about all these niggas who could give an interview anywhere and get some money to say, oh man, we used to beat up that nigga. Homie, it's not one video. It ain't one video from a nigga from middle school, elementary, jail, juvenile, to say, yeah, man, that nigga can't fight. Nah, homie, I could fight, and I could fight with one eye. I'm just a little bitty nigga. So, and I got heart. So, if you train me and teach me, whether that's on a job, whether that's in pool, whether that's how to change an alternator, nigga, if you train me and teach me, I'm gonna learn. And nigga, believe me, I'm learning.
I don't think people realize how hard it is boxing. You know, even this weekend, everybody's screaming, shouting at the TV, which we're gonna get to this, but
That's the
people
most sport,
don't
right?
really know boxing until you get into that square.
Most niggas don't even know how to fight. That's why you hear niggas talk about I'm coming from the shoulders.
Frames.
Nigga, real hand-to-hand combat don't come from the
Hold on, he
shoulders.
said
Everything is in the hips.
most
Most
niggas
niggas don't even know how to
fight.
fight. That's
Till you get into that square.
Most niggas don't even know how to fight. That's why you hear niggas talk about I'm coming from the shoulders. Nigga, real hand-to-hand combat don't come from the shoulders. Everything is in the hips. The momentum of the hips. That's why, see, fighting is easy, cause most niggas don't fight until they get mad. Fighting is just throwing punches. Niggas throwing punches, hoping to land the right punches. Boxing is angles. Hands, head, feet, and hips all working together. Niggas don't know that. That's why niggas who claim to know how to fight, when they go to a gym to learn how to
Niggas
box,
don't know that.
they get humbled. Include me. Yeah, include
Me too. Well, August 26th, we both have matches. You fight Suede.
Yeah, Suede on
Suede the
Plug
Plug,
the God,
right?
whatever the little long head motherfucker called himself. And he gotta make weight. Yeah, and he gotta make weight. So he like 140, he like 145, 147. Nigga, well now he like 145, 147. He gotta make 135.
Okay.
I gotta make 130. So yeah, my natural weight is 125, 130. I've never been more than 130 in my life. So yeah, he gotta come down to 135.
Do you feel like your career is on the line, August 26th?
I ain't no motherfucking boxer. How my career on the line? Yeah, no,
I mean-
nigga, I don't think nothing on the line. Win, lose, or draw. Most niggas won't even fight, let alone get in the ring and boxing before the world. So hell no, ain't nothing on the line. And if all that fail, before I go out like Earl Spence, I'm going out like Mike Tyson. I'm gonna bite a
He gonna
motherfucker.
bite him.
Yeah, now I'm going for a severe disqualification before I go out like Earl Spence. Motherfucker ain't taking me out on my shield. I'd rather be taken out on handcuffs.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't took an L yet from
No,
600.
nigga, I'm telling you, just think if Earl Spence, before the ref stopped him, he threw one of them motherfucking shin kicks to his knee, to Crawford knee. And hey, go to the corner. A point deducted. Give him some time to regroup and come back out and throw a nut punch. Fight over with. I would much rather go out like that, nigga, than going out the way Earl Spence did, wobbly knee with them baby deer legs.
Baby dear.
No,
leg.
I mean, I'm saying you haven't took an L yet from 600 Breezy to Soldier Boy to many altercations where you walked out, not a scratch on you, and it could have got ugly. That's what I'm saying. This could be your first L, August 26th.
Man, if this nigga try to do to me what they want to do to me, do you think we both go stand there at the end of the fight and they say, Judge such and such scored the fight 112 to 113. Judge Juanita judged the fight 111 to 109, and he really beat me up. Do you think I'm gonna stand there and let them raise his hand? No, nigga, fuck no. Hell no. Nigga, I'm a sore loser. I ain't got good sportsman conduct. And wherever the after party is, it's subject to be a fight over there in the shooting. So no, nigga, they better just make this an exhibition. If he coming there trying to whoop me and I can fight and no, it ain't gonna go how nobody think it's gonna go. Nigga, no, nigga can't whoop me no way and he my side.
Now, right now we're in training camp. I fight Bosco 100. You fight Suede. Have you stopped smoking? Have you changed your diet?
Yeah, hell yeah, I done changed my diet.
Opinion on packing peanuts? What kind of username do you have? Weird username you got there. Packing peanut. My opinion on packing peanut? I don't have very much opinion on packing peanut. But I don't know. I don't know what you're referring to. What you're alluding to, but I don't know what you're talking about. I don't really have an opinion on it. I think I would have to care about packing peanuts before I could have a valid opinion on it. But yeah, thanks for the question anyway. Appreciate it.
Have I stopped smoking? Hell no. Hell no, I'm gonna stop smoking. No. I done seen plenty of niggas fight at the club. I right out to smoking the backwood and whoop the nigga.
Exactly.
Yeah. So no. He ain't the best nigga in shape. Man, this nigga
Right.
running around playing with rats and snakes. Man, this nigga ain't the best nigga. And he doing Pilates. All that nigga doing learning how to do is put his
He
legs
doing
behind his ear like a bitch. That nigga doing Pilates. Fuck yeah, how that nigga get? Yeah, nigga, I ain't gotta stop smoking with a nigga doing Pilates.
All right, let's listen. to this
Made
real
by
quick.
someone, like you stated it clearly from the Quran, who is supposedly the mouthpiece of Allah. Yet he has no assurance of even what his end game is going to look like. Where is he headed? How can I follow someone that
Mouthpiece of
it's literally
Allah.
the blind leading the blind? I mean, that's the definition of a blind leading the blind.
Exactly. And here's a list of names that I want to share with everybody that should allow any person, any human who is seeking for the truth to consider not to accept Islam, not to accept Allah, and actually take his conclusion that Allah is nobody else but Satan in disguise, Satan, the best deceiver. Look, the first name, this is, by the way, again, 5 names
my bad.
that I found for Allah. Muslims claim with everybody that should allow
And knowing what I know about these kind of troubling statements made by someone, like you stated it clearly from the Quran, who is supposedly the mouthpiece of Allah, yet he has no assurance of even what his end game is going to look like. Where is he headed? How can I follow someone that it's literally the blind leading the blind? I mean, that's the definition of a blind leading the blind.
Exactly. And here's a list of names that I want to share with everybody that should allow any person, any human who is seeking for the truth to consider not to accept Islam, not to accept Allah, and actually take his conclusion that Allah is nobody else but Satan in disguise, Satan, the best deceiver. Look, the first name, this is, by the way, again, 5 names that I found for Allah. Muslims claim Allah has 99 names. So here are 5 names out of the 99 names. Read with me. Al-Mutakabbir, the arrogant one. The arrogant. Allah is arrogant? Where do we find this, brother?
That's
Doesn't
weird.
sound like God to
arrogant.
me. How can God be arrogant? Name number 2. Name number 2, Ad-Dar, the distresser, someone who distresses you. Should God not give you comfort?
Not only
A
that,
true living God, yeah.
he's the one that, another meaning for it, he's the one who caused you harm.
Yes, exactly. Here, name number 3, Al-Mudhil or Al-Muzil, the humiliator. God will humiliate people. Doesn't sound like God to me. It sounds like Satan again. And very famous one, number 4, Al-Makir, the deceiver. Right, the deceiver. Brother, you are an Arabic speaker. I'm an Arabic speaker. When you use the word makr in any context, is it a negative thing? Is it an evil thing to use?
Of course, I mean, I dare anyone to go to an Arabic-speaking president or a boss, just a boss in general at your workplace and say, hey, you look like al-makir, a deceiver to me. And let me know if that boss took it lightly and took it positively. If they don't take it that way, how can you call Allah this way?
I forgot to shoot.
And Allah in chapter 3, Surah Ali Imran, ayah 54, he used this name. Look, وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. And Muslims will do all kind of mental gymnastics and duct taping using false translation. No, the meaning is not planned. As you see on the screen, this is a false translation. Any Arabic speaker, and the brother already explained it, Allah is clearly the best of deceivers. So he is the deceiver, as we showed you in the last slide. So Allah is the best deceiver, meaning nobody can out-deceive Allah. Again, another proof that Allah is Satan. And the last name, this is the one that I gave Allah, and I have proved why I'm giving it to Allah.
let me replay this
Al-Fattan,
real quick.
the mischief maker. Brother, when you hear such a name,
Mischief maker.
is this fitting for a living God? Which one is it, right? So still Muhammad cannot tell us if if he's on the
that's a
right
good
path
place
or
to
not, and
start.
this is really damaging.
It is.
So the million-dollar question is, how does the messenger of Allah, the final prophet, the seal of all the prophets, not know if he's on the right path, al-huda, or the dark path, the dalal?
How
So,
does he
brother,
not
what do
know?
you think about this? If you are a Muslim, should you put your trust and salvation on the line for in such a prophet?
Of course not. I mean, this is the million-dollar question, like you said, brother. If I am a Muslim today and knowing what I know about these kind of troubling statements made by someone, like you stated it clearly from the Quran, who is supposedly the mouthpiece of Allah, yet he has no assurance of even what his end game is going to look like. Where is he headed?
Got him.
How can I follow
Ooh.
someone that it's
Ran
literally
up
the
on me.
blind leading the blind? I mean, that's the definition of a blind leading the blind.
Exactly. And
me the
here's
hat.
a list of names that I want to share with everybody that
The list of
should
names.
allow any person, any human who is seeking for the truth to consider not to accept Islam, not to accept Allah, and actually take his conclusion that Allah is nobody else but Satan in disguise, Satan, the best deceiver. Look, the first name, this is, by the way, again, 5 names that I found for Allah. Muslims claim Allah has 99 names. So here are 5 names out of the 99 names. Read with me. Al-Mutakabbir, the arrogant one. The arrogant. Allah is arrogant?
Let's see.
Where do we find this, brother? Doesn't sound like God to me. How can God be arrogant? Name number 2. Name number 2. Ad-Dar, the distresser. Someone who distresses you. Should God not give you comfort?
Not only
A
that,
true living God. Yeah.
he's the one that, another meaning for it, he's the one who caused you harm.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Here, name number 3. Al-Mudhil or Al-Muzil, the humiliator. God will humiliate people. Doesn't sound like God to me. It sounds like Satan again. And very famous one, number 4, Al-Makir, the deceiver. Right, the deceiver. Brother, you are an Arabic speaker. I'm an Arabic speaker. When you use the word makr in any context, is it a negative thing? Is it an evil thing to use?
Of course, I mean, I dare anyone to go to an Arabic-speaking president or a boss, just a boss in general at your workplace and say, hey, you look like al-makir, a deceiver to me. And let me know if that boss took it lightly and took it positively. If they don't take it that way, how can you call Allah this way?
Sniper.
Yeah. And Allah in chapter 3, Surah Ali Imran, ayah 54, he used this name. Look. وَمَكَرُوا وَمَكَرَ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. And Muslims will do all kind of mental gymnastics and duct taping using false translation. No, the meaning is not planned as you see on the screen. This is a false translation. Any Arabic speaker, and the brother already explained it, Allah is clearly the best of deceivers. So he is the deceiver, as we showed you in the last slide. So Allah is the best deceiver, meaning nobody can out-deceive Allah. Again, another proof that Allah is Satan. And the last name, this is the one that I gave Allah, and I have proved why I'm giving it to Allah. Al-Fattan, the mischief maker. Brother, when you hear such a name, is this fitting for a living God who should be all-loving, all-merciful?
Of course not. And here is the troubling part. They call those the beautiful names of Allah. What is so beautiful about these?
The
Yeah,
beautiful
exactly.
names
And
of
this
Allah.
information, you'll see why I gave Allah this name. If we go to the following slide here, look what it says. وَجَعَلْنَا بَعْضَكُمْ لِبَعْضٍ fitnatan. You hear the word fitnatan? So who is causing the mischief? Fitna means mischief, right? in the lands, let's say, Allah is the one causing mischief among human beings. So again, do you see why I gave Allah
Yep.
the mischief maker?
And look how the translators usually do, mental gymnastics here. They call it trial. No. There is a
Trial.
different word for that. Tajriba,
Exactly.
imtihan, ikhtibar. Those are the words that will be translated as trial, not this one.
Yeah, exactly. And you see here, the word is fitna, fitnatan. So Allah is the one. I want for everybody to make it clear. Please focus. It literally says that
Please
Allah is the
focus.
one who is causing fitna among the people. So do you see why I gave Allah the last name Al-Fattan, the mischief maker? So he is the one who is causing mischief, trouble among people. And this is, as you see, another disaster for any Muslim who will claim that Allah is the perfect God, trying to send the perfect message for all mankind. Is that true? You can be the judge of that, my friends.
Amen.
And yeah, brother, you want to add
I
something?
was just going to
on
say
top?
that this is really a wonderful one because it's a very simple list. And this is why these shows, by the way, that I'll be doing with my brother here are going to be very short, succinct, going to the point. Just look at the list, my Muslim friend, and tell us, do these names look like beautiful names to you? And would you like to follow a God that is bragging about himself, calling himself in such way, or at least ascribing to himself things like Al-Fattan, for instance, came from the fact that he causes fitna?
Exactly. And last ayah that I want to show you is chapter 14, Surah Ibrahim, ayah 4. It says literally here that Allah is the one who is leading people astray. فَيَضِلُّ اللَّهُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ فَيَضُلُّ اللَّهُ مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَيَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ. Meaning Allah misguides,
Right.
Allah the misguider, he misguides whoever he likes and he guides whoever he likes. So basically, in the hands of Allah, you're nothing but a puppet, and Allah is the puppeteer. If Allah for one day decides, even if you are the best Muslim, you are doing zakat, you are praying 5 times a day, Allah one day can decide for you to misguide you out of Islam. So why should you trust Allah in any shape or form, brother?
Exactly. And here you have two more names, Al-Hadi, which we know is there, and Al-Mudil. He's the one who misguides you also.
What up? What up?
Exactly. So again, yeah, Muslimin, what is your assurance? What is your guarantee that one day, for some reason, Allah might decide for you, even if you are doing the best possible way to be a follower of Islam? You know, you're practicing Muslim. You are not trying to hurt anybody. But Allah, for some reason, might even misguide the best among you Muslims. So what kind of God is this? Surely this cannot be God, as we showed you. Nobody else but Satan in disguise. Please leave Islam and come back home to your Lord and my Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen. Hallelujah, brother. Well, thank you so much. And I'm really excited about this very short video.
Well, thank you for joining us. My name's Kent Hovind. I taught high school science for 15 years, and this is going to be seminar part 7, question-answer time. If you've gotten this far, hopefully you've seen the first 6 because we will be covering new information. I taught science 15 years, and I cover information on the subject of creation, evolution, and dinosaurs. I take the position that the Bible is literally true, scientifically accurate in all details, and the evolution theory being taught in our schools is the dumbest and most dangerous religion in the history of planet Earth. We're going to be covering a wide variety of questions that I get during my Q&A time. Everywhere I go, I try to ask, teach for an hour or so and then have question-answer time. And I've heard most of the questions that come up in the last 17 years. We'll be covering a wide range of things like how do we see stars billions of light years away? Have there any fresh dinosaur bones been found, not even fossilized yet? Why are there so few human bones found? What about the Bible codes? Why do you use the King James Version? Are there contradictions in the Bible? What about other religions? Could they be right? What about global warming? And where do the races come from? A whole bunch of stuff we're going to be covering as quickly as we can. There is much more information about all of these topics on our college class. We taught college classes, CSE 101, the 100 series, 101, 2, 3, and 4. You can take those, and where we have time to go into a lot more detail. And then the 200 series is even more depth than that, okay? So you can catch, if you don't get enough information, or if I don't answer one of your questions, you can call into our daily radio program. Every day, 4:30 to 6, currently, we may change the time someday, but currently 4:30 to 6 Central Time, Monday through Friday, when I'm not traveling. I'm live on the internet, drdino.com or truthradio.com, and you can take our college classes.
Let's skip a little bit of this.
Sent there. Secondly,
no,
even if they did, download off my website, drdino.com.
All right, here we go.
Or you can just order the DVDs or CDs of all of the slides. And a lot of slides, you'll see they've got a little asterisk next to near the end.
Cool. I like that.
That indicates there's something in the notes section of the slide. And there's a lot of things I have to skip just for sake of time, but hopefully we can answer some questions for you here. The Bible says in Ecclesiastes, I applied mine heart to know and search and to seek out wisdom and the reason of things. I think it's wise for Christians especially to do that. Try to be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you a reason. And I think we could be more effective soul winners and more effective for God's kingdom if we knew more and could give an answer. That's the goal of all this seminars that we produce, is to equip people that can give an answer to know the truth. 1 Peter chapter 3 says, sanctify the Lord God in your hearts and be ready always to give an answer to every man that asketh you the reason of the hope that's in you. And we hope that this training you'll get here will give you the answers you need. 1 Timothy 2 says, study to show yourself approved unto God. We should study and learn, not just so we can give an answer to others, but so God is pleased with us. That's the goal of study. God, are you happy?
All right.
One of the questions I often get as I speak at universities is, hey, Hovind, are you the only one that believes in creation? Don't all scientists believe in evolution? Absolutely not. I don't know how that question even comes up. Not all scientists do not believe in evolution, number one, okay? Thousands and thousands and thousands of them are creation scientists. For instance, Dr. Russell Humphreys worked for years at the Sandia National Laboratories. There's a good article about him on the Answers in Genesis website. They've got a whole list of 180 some or 200 scientists today who are young earth, Bible-believing, six-day creationists. Dr. Humphreys said, using a simple statistical approach, I would conservatively estimate that in the United States alone, there are around 10,000 practicing professional scientists who openly believe in six-day recent creation. So first, it's not true that all scientists believe in evolution. Secondly, even if they did, that's not how you establish truth. It doesn't matter what the majority believe. The majority has a long history of being wrong, okay? They used to teach, all the planets go around the Earth. The majority was wrong, okay? Though, believe it or not, there still are some scientists who are geocentrists, who teach the Earth is in the center. And everything goes around the Earth. And I've got the books in the library. You can read those if you want to take that. I've looked at the subject. I can't buy it yet. I think they're wrong. I think the sun is in the center. There are the time when they used to teach that big rocks fall faster than little rocks. That was taught for 2,000 years, and it's wrong. So the majority can be wrong. They used to teach the doctrine of humors. If you're sick, you have bad blood. Take out your blood and you get better. That's how George Washington died. They were wrong. And in that case, they were dead wrong, okay? In John chapter 7, many of the people, therefore, when they heard this, said, of a truth, this is the prophet. Others said, this is the Christ. But some said, shall Christ come out of Galilee? Hath not the Scripture said that Christ cometh of the seed of David out of the town of Bethlehem? Notice what happened here in John chapter 7. The people were arguing about, was Jesus really the Christ? And some of them said, wait, Christ doesn't come out of Galilee, and Jesus came from Galilee. The problem is they had a misconception. They thought Jesus came from Galilee. Where was Jesus actually born? Bethlehem. So they had the whole wrong problem. They're arguing about the wrong subject. So in John 3:43 it says, so there was a division among the people because of him, and some of them would have taken him. They would have tried to kill the messenger. Because they had a wrong impression, they're going after this. We got to shut this guy up. This Jesus is out there preaching. We got to shut him up. They got the wrong impression to start with, and that's what happens. People get the wrong idea. They think creationists like me are doing damage to education system. No, we're the right people. We're trying to fix the problem, okay? We're trying to resolve it. Verse 45 says, then came the officers to the chief priests and Pharisees, and they said unto him, why have ye not brought him? Now this is classic. Notice, the chief priests sent their hoodlums to go get Jesus. Jesus answered their questions. They came back and said, wow, never man spake like this man. And then the Pharisees said, well, you should have asked him this. I get this every time, including 3 days ago in Michigan at the university up there. There's always some professor that says, they advertise that Hovind's coming to the university to speak, Northern Michigan University. Or the week before, it was in Wisconsin, at Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 100 professors in Milwaukee refused to debate me. 80 professors at Northern Michigan University refused to debate me. I've had close to 4,000 now professors that have refused to debate on the subject. And they don't even come when I speak. they send their students and say, here, ask him this, ask him this, ask him this. The student comes back and says, teacher, he answered all my questions. And then the teacher says, you idiot, you should have asked him this and this and this. Well, teacher, you coward, why didn't you come? Okay, why didn't you ask the question? And professors do the same thing, just like the Pharisees did. The professors send their students to try to trap the creationists. They won't come themselves, okay? And then when that doesn't work, they try to use the law to silence them. Let's just pass a law that says you can't teach creation. Or if anybody does try to teach creation, we're going to get them fired, send them out of here. Then verse 47. Then answered them the Pharisees, are ye also deceived? Hovind translation, are you stupid? Has this guy deceived you? Then this is the classic one they always use. Have any of the rulers or of the Pharisees believed on him? Translation. None of the other scientists believe this creation stuff. Therefore, evolution must be true. Now think about that logic. The majority believes this, therefore it's true. I mean, that's silly. First place, it's not true the majority believe it. Secondly, that's not how you tell. And then they said, but this people who knoweth not the law are cursed. Hovind translation. We have knowledge, you don't. We have a degree, you don't. We don't approve of your degree. It's from a non-accredited Christian school. Therefore, we're smart, you're dumb. That's a common tactic used by the professors today. And the 99 professors I've debated, it happens all the time. And then one of the guys, Nicodemus, very wisely said, doth our law judge any man before it hear him? Nicodemus at least had the common sense to say, hey, before we judge this guy Jesus and say he's wrong, he's stupid, etc., let's listen to what he's saying. And I would encourage college students and professors and anybody, listen to the creation side. Just listen. Really honestly listen and hear it, and then make your decision. When I spoke in Soviet Union a couple years ago, I was at a university over there in, I don't know, Pavel, if you remember what city I was in. It's in Ukraine, your home state, but one of the cities had a university. They shut down the university and sent 30 professors to have me speak for 2 hours because on creation. I was a big celebrity, you know, Dr. Hovind from all the way from Florida, you know. The further I travel, the more famous I am, you know. When I'm right here in town, it's not famous at all, but they shut down the university and 30 professors came. After about an hour of speaking on creation, one of the professors was crying. And I asked the translator, this girl named Olga, I said, what's he crying about? And she said, he's never heard the creation story. He didn't know there was one. And I think there's a lot of people in America, a lot of students that I see in America have never really honestly heard the creation story. So if somebody says everybody else believes in evolution, therefore you should too, number one, that's not a good argument. And it's not true, okay? And listen to the creation side. Understand it. Because when I get done talking, a lot of times, like in the airplane, I sat by somebody who believed in evolution just last week. I said, well, let me just explain the creation side. It took 3 minutes, explained the creation view very simply. And they said, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Well, yeah, just listen, okay, to what they got to say. Okay. They started with the false assumption that Jesus was from Galilee. He wasn't, okay? He was actually born in Bethlehem. Some of the Pharisees had not believed him, so therefore that's proof that he's not right. You get the same thing today. Some scientists don't believe in creation, therefore creation's not true. That is absolutely stupid logic, okay? And they'll say, has he published in science journals? As if, well, you don't see creation articles in National Geographic, therefore that proves it's not right. Well, you didn't see many capitalist articles in communist journals 10 years ago either, by the way, you know. It doesn't prove anything's right or wrong. The majority can be wrong. The majority followed Aaron into rebellion. The majority voted not to go into the promised land in Numbers chapter 32. The majority followed false gods many times in the Old Testament. The majority of the leaders hated Jesus. The majority of the world hates Christians. The majority voted in Bill Clinton twice, for heaven's sake. I mean, the majority can be wrong, all right? Can be dead wrong. But it's not true that all scientists believe in creation. There's a book here by Robert Gentry. Robert Gentry is a good friend of mine from Tennessee. He is a very famous scientist who did work on the disposal of radioactive waste, nuclear waste. What do you do with this waste product? He would do research on the granites around the world. He discovered that as you look at granites under a microscope, you find they got little tiny halos in them. Radiopolonium halos. We'll get into more of that later. But as soon as they found out that his research was proving evolution is not true, because he really proves the earth was never a hot molten mass. He never mentioned creation, never mentioned God, just purely scientific research. They published him in all the major journals until somebody said, wow, guys, Gentry's work is proving the Big Bang Theory wrong. They took away his funding and shut him off like a spigot. They persecuted somebody just because his work was not supporting the sacred cow, i.e. evolution. Roger DeHart was a science teacher at Burlington Edson High School near Seattle. He was told, they brought him into the office and said, you cannot tell your students about errors in the textbooks. All he was doing was bringing in current science journals Here's a textbook that says the baby has gill slits, like we covered on video 4. DeHart would bring in a science journal, says, guys, I'm sorry, it says in the textbook on page 220 that the baby has gills. That's not true. Here's a current science journal. See, here's the evidence. He never mentioned God, never mentioned the Bible, never mentioned creation. He just said this textbook's not accurate, and they told him he couldn't do that. You can't inform your students that the book is out of date? That's the kind of persecution Christians get when they, or anybody gets when they try to go against this evolution theory. Evolution is a carefully protected state religion. Just like communism was a carefully protected state religion when you grew up over there. You don't dare question it. Okay? Kevin Haley was a biology teacher in Oregon. He lost his job simply because he exposed errors in the textbooks. He told them, hey, this book's not right, there's a mistake here. They said, you're fired. Can't teach if you say there's errors in our books. Baylor University in Waco, Texas fired William Dembski in April 2000 simply because he told his students there might be an intelligent designer. He said, oh, you're not allowed to say that, so they fired him. This is Baylor. It used to be a Christian college, okay? Forrest Mims was a science writer for years. He wrote for many major journals, National Geographic, Science Digest, American Journal of Physics. He wrote for all kinds of articles for magazines. But then when he applied for a job at Scientific American, he was denied. They said, you can't work here because you are a creationist. Even though what he was writing on has nothing whatsoever to do with the subject of creation or evolution, they said, we don't want you on our staff because it would look bad if we hired a creationist. That's the type of persecution you get. Rod Levake was told, he told his students, I kind of doubt this Darwin theory is true. So they took him away from teaching biology and gave him another job. They said, we don't want you teaching biology because you might make our students doubt Darwin's theory. That's how it's protected. It's a religion. There's a teacher in Indiana, Dan Clark, his principal called him in, Ed Eller, the superintendent, and said he could not introduce creation to his class. Now, there's no law against teaching creation at all. There are no court cases that says you can't teach creation. They just said you can't be mandatory. But teachers always have the right to teach creation. But here's the problem. The law says you can teach it, the court says you can teach it, but your boss now says you can't. So he quit his job finally over that. He stood firm and said, look, I'm not going to bow to this one. He quit his job. Dean Kenyon wrote the book Pandas and People. He was a science teacher at San Francisco State University. He wrote this book and says it's a biology textbook, basically, a science textbook, that says, hey, there must have been some kind of designer. This is so complicated, this is amazing. There must have been a designer. It doesn't try to get him saved or converted to be a Baptist or a Buddhist or a Catholic. It just says, look, there must be a designer. He was a tenured biology professor, San Francisco State University. He had written all kinds of books about evolution.
He got his ass out of there.
When he believed in it. Then he got converted and said, I really doubt that theory's true. It doesn't work. And so they fired him. But he was tenured, so he sued them and got his job back, and they put him in as a lab assistant washing test tubes, stuff that, the students do. He had to sue him again to get his real job back. Just because he said, I think there might be a creator to this universe. That's the type of persecution you get. When I spoke in Lubbock, Texas, several years ago, they had a professor there named Dr. Dini, D-I-N-I, who teaches biology. He told his students, if you don't believe in evolution, don't come ask me for a recommendation to go off to medical school, because I won't give you one.
That's crazy.
He said, it was on his website for years. He said, if you don't believe in evolution, you'll never get a recommendation from me. Well, when I went to speak there in Lubbock, Texas, the students offered Dr. Denny $1,000 if he would debate me for 2 hours. And he refused.
He said, hell no.
$1,000 for 2 hours. That's pretty good money, Leah. How'd you like to make $1,000 for 2 hours? I mean, he said, no, he won't do it. This persecution that happens against Christians and against creationists in the secular school system is mind-boggling. What are they afraid of? So I say, well, it's not true that all scientists believe in creation, but many scientists that do believe in creation are afraid to say anything because they know the kind of persecution you're going to get. How many teachers were there in Ukraine that did not believe in communism but didn't dare say anything about it? Anybody, even if you don't even smile right at Stalin, he'd kill you. You'd end up in the gulag someplace. That's the kind of things happen in America, believe it or not. If a person doesn't support the evolution theory vocally and actively, they'll be banished to academic Siberia. They lose their grant money, they will lose their job. It's sad. And Patrick Henry College was told back in November of 2002, I believe, that they weren't going to get accreditation because they didn't teach enough evolution in their college. There's an article in Agape Press here. A university professor said she was asked to resign for introducing elite students to flaws in Darwinian thought at the Mississippi University for Women. I spoke just north of there a few weeks after this happened. I talked to some of the people involved. This lady was told she had to resign her job because she was her teaching might make students doubt Darwinism. What are they going to school for? An education or indoctrination? Yeah, you're going to get an education, I thought. And it used to be that way, but it's just not anymore. It's pretty sad. And this lady said that this professor that wanted to fire her hadn't even heard her speech. But she was, raising doubts about Darwinism. All kinds of scientists down through history, I mean, like thousands of them. All the branches of science were started by creationists. There's a good list on Answers in Genesis. Just go to answersingenesis.org website and type in scientists who believe creation. And it'll bring up all kinds of articles, and you can read about all these scientists down through history who have been creationists. Very famous scientists. I've often asked evolutionists, I say, guys, can you name me one advancement in modern science we've had because of the evolution theory?
Right.
Is that why we have computers? Is that why we have, telephones, radios? Is that why we went to the moon? What advancements can be named
I couldn't shoot it.
because of this evolution theory? They've never given an answer. There is nothing. The theory is useless.
There's nothing.
But all major science, all the whole branches of science in the last 400 years were started by creationists. Now, they weren't all young earth creationists like me, and they certainly weren't all independent, temperamental, fundamental, right-wing, radical Baptists like me.
Damn.
But they were, creationists. Werner von
What
Braun,
up,
head of our space
Damo?
program,
I
was a
was just
creationist.
thinking
A.E. Wildersmith,
about you
William
yesterday,
Ramsey.
Damo.
The right
I heard a G Herbo song called Focused, and I was like, I wonder what Damo did. What's good, bro? But yeah, though, man. How you doing, bro?
brothers. They studied birds. They said, we want to see how the designer, the creator, how God made the birds, and we'll learn how to make an airplane by studying airplanes. The guy who invented the MRI, magnetic resonance imaging machine, is a young earth creationist. There are creationists today. There's a couple good books we have in our library or for sale on our website. In 6 Days is one, and On the Seventh Day. This is 50 scientists who believe in creation. Here's 40 more scientists who believe in creation. You can get these. There are thousands of scientists who do believe in creation, do not believe in evolution. Karl Popper, a famous leading philosopher of science, he said, evolution is not a fact. Evolution doesn't even qualify as a theory or hypothesis. It's a metaphysical research program. It's not really testable science. Evolution is a religion. And they get so angry when I tell them that, which is probably why I tell them that, every few minutes, because I enjoy pushing the right buttons, Julian Huxley, his grandfather, Thomas Huxley, was the guy who really pushed Darwin when Darwin's book came out. Julian Huxley said, I suppose the reason we leapt at Origin of Species was the idea of God interfered with our sexual mores. We don't want God telling us what to do. That's why they've accepted evolution. Michael Ruse said, evolution is promoted by its practitioners as more than a mere science. Evolution is promulgated as an ideology, a secular religion, a full-fledged alternative to Christianity with meaning and morality. He said, I am an ardent evolutionist and an ex-Christian. But I must admit that in this one complaint, and Mr. Gish is one of many to make it, the literalists are right. Evolution is a religion. This was true of evolution in the beginning, and it's true of evolution still today.
I'm glad you're doing good.
Evolution is a religion in every sense of the word. Evolution is a fairy tale for grown-ups. The theory has helped nothing in the progress of science. It's useless. So it's not true they all believe it. Nearly all branches of science were started by creationists. Evolution theories added nothing to science. When students or professors fear expressing their real honest thoughts, they're not getting educated, they're getting indoctrinated.
That's funny.
Students get flunked for not supporting the evolution theory. Every week when I go out and speak, somebody will come to me and say, when I was in biology class, I wrote a paper and the teacher gave me an F.
I was in New Mexico like a week ago, and some lady stopped me and was like, you sound like Snoop Dogg. And I was like, that shit's funny. She was like, I don't know what it is. It's a compliment, though. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. I appreciate it. I was like, it's weird, but that's not the first time somebody told me that. And then, like, I was trying to explain it to somebody else, and I was like, it's not the voice. I think they just talking about the smoothness or something, you know what I'm saying? But, yeah, she said that shit the other day. I started rolling. I said, and then that got me thinking about you, because I remember you said that shit that one day. I was like, this nigga Damo. He was like, nigga, your voice is busting through the whole speakers of my house right now. Yeah, 2K coming out, though. Oh yeah, I be watching shit like this all the time. You know, this is Dr. Ken Hovind. He kind of famous and shit. But it's 2 hours long. I don't think I'm gonna watch the whole thing right now. But yeah, it's about science versus religion and shit. You know, get a little knowledge. You know what I mean? While I'm over here trying to shoot people on Battlefield. He said, "Yeah, it's the smoothness." Yeah, that's what I think it was too. Like I was on stage doing a sound check, and I was like, you know, just talking and doing all sorts of shit. And then like later that day or the next day, this lady just caught me, and she was like, "You remind me of Snoop Dogg or something." I was like, "That's not the first time I've heard that, but that's funny." But yeah. Yeah, I was actually about to come to Chicago. When I come to Chicago, I'm gonna hit you up.
Because it didn't support evolution.
I might be out there in the next few months or something. I was finna be out there in Wisconsin, but I went to New Mexico instead. And I'm about to go to Oakland on August 31st. So yeah, next time I get out your way, I'm gonna definitely hit you up. But everybody gonna be on 2K in the next couple days though. I might play it a little bit. I ain't really like it this year, but that fucking shit got a game pass and season pass and all that shit, bro. I don't know. 2K going in another direction.
Because I dared to go against the evolution theory. I get calls like that. Diane, you take some of the calls and transfer them over to me. Students saying, "Hey, what do I do? My teacher gave me an F because
Fucking Battlefield, I just be chilling.
Because I didn't. My paper went against evolution. It's sad. I mean, it's discrimination.
Hell yeah.
All
I
the
think I'm gonna get a
advancements in modern
PS4
technology
too.
have nothing to do with evolution. Evolution is a hindrance.
Cause I got the dual HDMI port on this motherfucker game capture card I got, so I could have the the PlayStation and the Xbox hooked up at the same time. I think I might as well just do it. I don't know if I'm gonna play 2K on it, but I definitely just need to get it because there's some games on there I probably want to play. Like I was telling Londo, some of them Asian games and shit. Oh shit. That nigga Londo booed up. He asked me to put Pitch Perfect on Plex so he could watch it with his girl the last time I talked to him. He be on here every now and again. He'll jump in here and talk shit to me real quick and then dip out. Where the fuck is this dude at? But yeah, though, man, I just been chilling. Oh shit! What the fuck? He almost got me when I wasn't paying attention on some bullshit. Then that motherfucker got me.
To science, not a help at all. Okay, next question. What about separation of church and state? Well, there's no such phrase in the Constitution. You can get the entire Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence for $1. This little book, Citizens Rule Book, excellent book. Everybody ought to read this one. It's got a great story in here about the jurors. It's amazing the power that jurors have. One juror can decide he doesn't like the law. And if they pass a law in your city that says, you can't spit on the sidewalk, and somebody spits on the sidewalk, and they videotape it. They got the whole thing. He broke the law. I mean, they take him to court. It's proven he broke the law. But you, as a juror, say, I don't like that law. I don't think it's fair to say you can't spit on the sidewalk. The judge is going to threaten all the jurors and say, no, you have to rule according to the law. You got to listen to my instructions. You don't have to listen to it.
And I was like, I wonder what Damo doing. Every time I talk to Londo, I'd be like, what's Damo doing? He'd be like, I don't know, man. He'd be like, he good. Damn, bro. Yeah, my birthday coming up too. I'm about to be old as shit. Holy shit, where these niggas at? Oh, okay. Oh, what the fuck? Who's shooting from the roof? Oh, okay, yeah. About to say it had to be from the roof. Ooh, look at him, he fell down. He on fire too. Right. Turn this shit on. Switch one. Hell yeah, I just be staying out the way for the most part. But if I do come to Chicago, it's gonna be like in the heart of downtown Chicago. Like, you know what I'm saying, by the convention center or something probably. But I don't know. I'll probably be in an Uber, so I'll slide through. I'm finna go to O Block, take some pictures and shit, and I just like, yeah, for sure. Same to you, man. God bless you, man. Stay up, man. Stay out of trouble. Until I get there, then we could get in some trouble. You know what I'm saying? Not fun. I'm trying to see where the hoes at. That's it. Where the fuck is the dude at? I know I see him. Oh, he must be on top. Oh yeah, he is on top. Bitch ass nigga. Throw some smoke. Got your snacks up, nigga? Oh, I see somebody over there. That nigga said, get your snacks up. Oh, hell nah. They're trying to kill me. Hell yeah. I'm phoning them like you say. Back in the day. Oh shit, is another one up there or what? I need to make some beats and shit, but I just wanted to come on and stream for like an hour or two. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna probably make some beats. What time is it? It's 11:30. Hell yeah. Play some beats. Hold on, let me play this nigga real quick too. Hold on.
To seeing that the findings of the James Webb Telescope have undermined the case for the Big Bang, or the Big Bang Theory. But there's an interesting backstory on this. Most of these media reports were based on the writings of a single physics researcher named Eric Lerner, who's been, since 1990, kind of carrying a torch to refute the Big Bang. And Lerner, in one of his articles, quoted a University of Kansas astrophysicist saying that she stays up late at night wondering if, based on the James Webb, that everything that we know is turning out to be false. Turns out that researcher, that astrophysicist, disclaimed his use of the quote, explaining that he took it completely out of context. That she was talking about theories of galaxy formation, not about whether or not there had been a Big Bang, and not about whether or not the universe is expanding as we would expect.
So he's confirmation bias.
Yeah, and in a sense also taking somebody way out of context to make a point of his own. You know, he misused the quotation
On purpose.
Apparently.
Apparently.
So here's and there have been a number of leading astrophysicists. In fact, people who would like to know more about this, I'd recommend what Brian Keating from University of California, San Diego, great astrophysicist, has been writing about this. But here's the short story. I wrote an op-ed in the Daily Wired distilling some of this stuff. What the James Webb Telescope is able to do is to, in fact, what it was constructed to do, was to detect extremely long wavelength radiation, stuff that's outside the visible range. I call it uber redshifted. It's actually in the infrared range is the more accurate physics term. So it's looking for very long wavelength radiation coming from galaxies that are very, very far out there. Now, why would it be looking for that? Well, because if the universe is expanding as we would expect based on the Big Bang Theory, then the radiation coming from things very, very far out in space and therefore very far back in time should be very stretched out, more stretched out than stuff that's closer at hand. So the James Webb was constructed in hopes of detecting that type of radiation if it existed. It's not assuming that it necessarily would, but it would be a way of confirming the expansion of the universe has been going on for a very long time. And in order to do that, the NASA people created some amazing technology. They supercooled the detection technology, or the detection apparatus, to I think 5, 6, 7 degrees above absolute zero, so that the heat coming off of the instrument itself was not creating infrared that would interfere. And what they were in fact able to detect from these very ancient, very distant galaxies was super redshifted radiation, uber redshifted stuff out in the infrared. And we're able, on the basis of that, to synthesize images of these very, very distant remote galaxies. Now, the very fact that they were able to do that confirms that you have that what you would expect on the basis of the Big Bang Theory, that the amount of redshift that you would expect to be present if in fact the galaxies had been expanding throughout that vast stretch of time was in fact present and was detected. Now that didn't get reported. There were, what the whole focus was on the fact that there were galaxies that were more mature, there were more of them early on than we would have expected based on our theories of galaxy formation. And so those are anomalies that need to be addressed and have not yet been explained, as I understand it. Maybe the astrophysicists have made more progress on that in even recent days. But the basic picture of an expanding universe outward from a beginning has not been undermined, but rather confirmed in a very dramatic way at very great distance and for galaxies that are a very far look-back time, way back in time. So I think it's a rather dramatic confirmation. There have been many others, the cosmic background radiation that was discovered in 1965, the COBE radiation that George Smoot discovered in the 90s. So there's been this pattern of confirming evidence of this basic picture of an expanding universe out from the beginning in observational astronomy from the 20s right up till now. And so that, I think, gives us good reason to think best we can tell the universe at a beginning.
Can I pause you on that? What is
Yeah.
the when she was discussing the formation of galaxies, what had thrown that into question? Like what was about the formation of galaxies that undermined previous ideas?
I'm going to answer tentatively because I don't know this as well as the other that I just described.
Okay.
But as I understand it, it's that there are more galaxies that formed earlier and are more mature than we would have expected, because they were able to look back to 13.6 billion years ago. They think the origin of the universe is about 13.8 billion years ago. So apparently galaxies were forming faster than we would have expected. And I think that's the anomaly that is on the table.
Does that just push the timeline further back, but still come up with the data that points to the idea of a beginning?
I've wondered that. That seems to me a logical possibility. Maybe the origin of the universe was further back, but you're still getting this picture of a collapsing sphere in the reverse direction of time back to a point.
But is it possible that with further detection, we can, with new data, have a better understanding of what is actually going on rather than just saying it all points to this thing? Because it seems like there's data, but it's what you're describing seems like it's possible, at least in the future, to have better detection methods.
Yeah, it's always possible that we can change our minds on things because science is always provisional. But there are many stable theories that have persisted because of a preponderance of evidence that points to and continues to point to the same conclusion. And I think we've had 100 years now where we've had repeated new types of observations that point towards a beginning. And there are two other classes of two other developments in theoretical physics that also, I think, reinforce this, that I also wrote about in the book. One is the singularity theorems that Hawking and Penrose and George Ellis proved in the 1960s and 70s. And then there's something called the Borde-Guth-Vilenkin theorem, which I think is even a tighter physics proof of a beginning. I think that there is a loophole with the Hawking-Penrose Ellis singularity theorem, although it's I think very suggestive and highly indicative of a beginning. Let me run it just briefly because it's a fun thing to think about. So Hawking is doing black hole physics for his PhD in the 1960s, and he's at Cambridge and he's having these neurological symptoms, and he's diagnosed with ALS. He gets very, very discouraged. He thinks he's going to quit, and he's encouraged to press on by close friends, and he does. And he ends up writing this brilliant thesis where he has one chapter where he's thinking about what the cosmologists are talking about, is that we've got this expanding universe, and if the universe is expanding in the forward direction of time, then matter is getting more and more diffuse over time. Now, part of his thesis involves general relativity, Einstein's theory of gravity. And according to Einstein, a massive body actually curves the fabric of space or space-time. So if you're going in the forward direction of time, space is getting less and less curved, and matter more and more diffuse. But if you're going in the reverse direction of time, the matter is getting more and more densely concentrated at every successive point in the finite past until, again, you reach a limiting case where the matter gets so densely concentrated that space gets so tightly curved that it can't get any more tightly curved. It can't get any more densely concentrated. And you move towards a point of infinite density and infinite curvature. You get to a limiting case. Now, infinite curvature corresponds to zero spatial volume. And so the picture of the origin of the universe that sort of intuitively flows from this is one where you get not just matter and energy arising, but space and time come into existence at that 0 point. And he presents this in his PhD thesis. The story of this is told really nicely in the little film, the Theory of Everything. And he's fear and trepidation, getting examined, but one of his examiner, they're nitpicking all these different things, but then they say, hey, the idea of a black hole at the beginning of the universe, a space-time singularity, this is brilliant, congratulations, Dr. Hawking, and they shove the thesis book back over to him, and he's passed. But one of them says, now go work out the maths. And he ends up working out the math of this intuitive proof that he develops with Sir Roger Penrose, with whom you have done a wonderful interview, and George Ellis, whom I've had the occasion to meet. And so they end up producing several of these singularity theorems, suggesting that if general relativity is true, then there must have been a beginning. This is on grounds independent of all the things from observational astronomy. Now there's a loophole with that, and that is that in the very tiniest smidgens of space-time,
I ain't seen him. He's behind
inside
the car.
10 to the minus 43rd of a second, or what they call Planck time, quantum effects might have been such that we would have to alter our ideas of how gravity worked. And so out of that has come something called an impulse, are different theories of what are called quantum gravity or quantum cosmology. And I think you've had some conversations on this show about that as well.
Sure.
In my book, I show that that is another possible cosmological model. But like the conclusion that the universe had a definite beginning, I think those models also have theistic implications, and I can explain why.
Okay.
Maybe we bracket that.
Okay.
Then there's yet a third proof, though, of a beginning that by three physicists, Bohr, Guth, and Alexander Vilenkin. And it's not based on general relativity. It's not based on ideas of what gravity was like in the early universe, but based on ideas of special relativity. Whoa. It's a little tricky to explain easily, but basically they show that there is, again, a limiting case and therefore a definite beginning to time, and therefore, and that it does not have the same loophole that the singularity theorems of Hawking and Penrose. So what I've said what I argue in the book is that a body of evidence from observational astronomy, a strong indicator from theoretical physics, namely the singularity theorems of Hawking et al., and then a very compelling proof from Bohr, Guth, and Vilenkin all point to the same conclusion, that as best we can tell, the universe had a beginning. And I think that's the best we can do in science, but that is a pretty weighty...
It's like, that's the best we can do in science. I'll be right back. Give me a second.
with a top hat is a Mason. Well, at least when it comes to the early 1900s. I don't trust any of these people with top hats. But what is a top hat, and why was every single person during this era wearing the same exact outfit? It's something we never really questioned, but when you look into many of these old photos, everyone is wearing the same thing, especially all of these corporate hats, robber barons. They wouldn't leave their house without a top hat. But what is the top hat, and when did this all begin? When it comes to top hats, we're typically speaking of a high hat, cylinder hat, or topper, which is traditionally associated with formal wear in the West that came to rise during the end of the 18th century. On December 1st, 1941, the United States Public Health Service banned the use of mercury in the felt industry. We can trace the felt hat industry back to mid-17th century France, and it most likely was introduced into England around 1830. Since its beginning, mercury was used in the process of the creation of these hats. At first, Turkey camel hair was used for the felt material, and it was discovered that the process would be sped up if the fibers were moistened with camel urine. It is said that in France, the workmen would use their own urine to make these hats. One workman's urine worked the best for these felt hats, and everyone was so curious as to why this man's pee was so good at making felt hats. Well, this is the story that they tell us, that this worker had been treated for syphilis, and back in the day, they would just shoot up mercury to heal it, I guess, so that's how they tell the story. And this guy had mercury in his system. He was pissing on the fiber so that it would make better felt. And because the mercury was in his urine, they realized that it was the mercury that was responsible for creating the superior felt hats. This is the supposed reason that they started putting mercury in hats, for more quality hats.
That is ass.
Well, that seems awfully strange because they were well aware of the effects of mercury poisoning, as they've been using it for medicine and alchemy for thousands of years. But the thing is, mercury poisoning would cause dementia and Mad Hatter disease, which could be characterized as delirium, hallucinations, and even suicidal tendencies. With severe cases, this would produce tremors throughout different parts of the body, including the mouth and tongue, making it difficult to speak properly. Those are in overexposure cases. With just the right amount, these effects can be more mild and last for years without anyone noticing, producing effects such as fatigue, loss of memory, vivid dreams, and depression. So what is Mad Hatter disease? Exposure to mercury, even low levels for periods of time, can cause health problems in humans.
Right?
Prolonged exposure can lead to chronic mercury poisoning. This may be called Mad Hatter disease or Mad Hatter syndrome. Mad Hatter disease causes severe neurological effects known as erethism. It can lead to symptoms like headaches, behavioral changes, and weakness. Then, during the 18th to 20th centuries, hat makers would use mercuric nitrate to stiffen felt for these hats.
Right?
These hats would produce vapors in which those who wore them would not only absorb via their scalp, but would inhale in poorly ventilated areas. Over time, these hatters began having symptoms, including psychosis, excitability, and tremors throughout the body. It was so common that this is literally where the phrase "mad as a hatter" comes from. Think about the long-lasting effects this would have, especially if the populace were not aware and it was promoted as the new fashion. I mean, everyone was wearing these back in the day. You were a nobody if you didn't have one. So was there a purpose behind this? We all know of the crazy Mad Hatter from Alice in Wonderland, but why does he act so crazy? During Lewis Carroll's time, mercury was being used in the process of creating top hats, and the Hatter is complete with all the characteristics of the disease. Erratic, flamboyant, and silly behavior, along with mood swings being the most obvious symptoms of mercury poisoning. Why would Lewis Carroll add this top hat reference? Is there a deeper truth to this Mad Hatter character? Which, interestingly, in the newer films is presented more like a clown with red hair or some type of demon, Nephilim, which is also interesting because people claim to be visited by spirits of a similar nature. They call them Mad Hatter demons. They are demonic entities that have white faces and wear the top hat. You can find these symbols all over the place, even in games. But where does this phenomenon originate? It's obviously a huge part of our psyche, but why? They're just top hats. Is it more than just a fashion statement? Or does it possibly represent a much darker truth? The Lewis character may have been one of the earliest characters of a Mad Hatter,
Mind control.
but there are references from the 17th century in which a man, Robert Crabb, who was an eccentric living in Chesham, England, gave all his good to the poor and lived on dock leaves and grass. However, Carroll may have based his Mad Hatter character on a Theophilus Cater, not a hatter, but a furniture dealer who was known locally as the Mad Hatter, partly because he always wore a top hat, was eccentric, and produced wacky inventions. This phrase from its origin was used to describe those who were crazy and prone to unpredictable behavior.
Crazy.
Most employees would staff a variety of ailments called the Hatter Shakes, which were speech problems, emotional instability, and hallucinations. The top hat's origins go far before Alice in Wonderland, as these were most likely inspired by capotaines, which is a tall crowned hat from the late 1500s in northwestern Europe, worn by elites and their orphans. This is also known as the pilgrim hat. Why is it that all these pilgrims had top hats? It is said that they never really had a buckle on them, and even if they did, the buckle really didn't do anything. It's most likely a symbol or a reference. They actually didn't wear any buckles at all. So why is that in all these cartoons and depictions of pilgrims? Are they wearing a buckle? Perhaps it's a secret gesture? So these early capitaines inspired the crowned dark felt hats with wide brims that bursted in popularity during the leisure wear fashion during the 1770s age of revolution. In the 1780s, there came the justaucorps, which were what the royal elite wore and the origin of the three-piece suit, or what we call a business suit. These were then made for the capitans, or captains, who would wear these capotaines, which had many designs, but were most likely still using mercury for the stiffening process. There are the tricorn and bicorn hats, which were worn by many generals and top leading officials during the Napoleonic period. By the 1790s, this elite dress wear was turned into fashion city wear for the upper and middle classes throughout the entire Western world. This was not some accident of culture in which these styles emerged from pure creativity. No, it was a purposeful design, a uniform, and this uniform was to serve a specific purpose. There were some variations. Around the 19th century, there were beaver hats, then black and gray silk. Think about this compared to other cultures that were so colorful, vibrant, and creative with their fashion. There's a reason we get these dull colors, straight edges, box-style fashion. It produces a certain culture,
Black and
a
white.
specific type of consciousness. The dress coats were replaced by frock coats in the 1840s to become the conventional former outfit, and they would wear it on a daily basis. The top hats would be combined with a frock coat and white tie. This would be their identity, their representation, and anyone who did not conform was not a part of the club. You guys remember that episode of The Fairly Odd Parents where everyone was a gray blob? Well, it seems that's really what it was like back then. You may think it's a joke, but literally everyone was wearing these. Danbury, Connecticut has always been known as the Hat City. It was the hat-making capital of the world until the 19th century. At the peak of the industry, 5 million hats a year were produced in 56 different factories in Danbury. Why were they producing so many hats? These hats were literally causing the conditions known as the Danbury Shakes, which turned the populace into
Danbury
Mad
Shakes.
Hatters. It is even said that this resembled drunkenness and that employers would exploit this condition.
Damn.
Now this is just insane. The seal of the city of Dansbury during this period was literally a phoenix being burned within a crown, and
Yeah,
on
let's
the
take a look
shield
at
we
that.
have a top hat, the ruins of a chimney, and a red banner that reads Restituimus in Latin, which means to restore or replace. Why would they be putting these top hats on a coat of arms or a city seal with a burning phoenix? Also, strangely, researchers have suggested that Boston Corbett, the man who killed John Wilkes Booth, President Abraham Lincoln's assassin,
He was a Mad
might
Hatter.
have suffered from poor health due to mercury poisoning. He apparently castrated himself as well with a pair of scissors. So wait, they weren't smart enough to notice that these hats were causing literal insanity, yet they were making them for several centuries? They
Makes
didn't
no
stop using
sense.
mercury in hats until 1941, and it's been that way since the 17th century. They knew it was dangerous business, but that would mean that they did this on purpose. Think about it. We all know of the old world asylums. What if there's something more to this story of these top hats? Were the governments at this time knowingly drugging the populace slowly to cause delirium? This in turn would allow people to be more malleable, to stop people from asking too many questions, even give the government a valid excuse to imprison people in these asylums. But more so, it would allow lower level Masons, the inventors, businessmen, and other contributors to society to be more easily controlled. Perhaps a way to control the influencers of that age. Furthermore, hats are deeply rooted in the art of secret gestures, or the means in which one can secretly signal that they are part of a hidden group or society. This is the history of the Phrygian caps, also the red hats that are visible in Renaissance art. These were not only used to signify someone's allegiance, but also a means in which minds could be controlled. If you wore the top hat, you
MK
were a
Ultra.
part of Masonic society. You were a respectable man of industry. Yet,
God,
perhaps
blaze
this
them
explains
both
why
down.
much of the populace did not question the directive of their higher-ups, including the history that they were given. This would turn the entire city or country into an insane asylum on a larger scale. An innovative idea for creating compliance without the populace even realizing it. Think about how this is transferred into the modern day. Sure, it's not done through hats anymore. I mean, it could be, but more so through the sky, our water supply, our food,
God
and
damn.
even what we watch on the television.
Fuck.
It's all
God
means to
damn.
make us so insane that we cannot see the insanity of the world we live in. Of course, they present this history with cases that highlight mercury poisoning and insanity to its extreme forms, but it's not typically brought up what were the underlying subtle effects from these top hats
Damn.
on the population as a whole. In many old photos and engravings, you find that almost everyone was wearing these top hats. So, are there symptoms that were not as obvious as the ones that are typically represented as Mad Hatters, as with Alice in Wonderland?
Dang,
Perhaps it
got
wasn't
away.
always such extreme
Barely.
measures, but instead, it was a slow process of being medicated. Not everyone reacted the same way either, and not everyone went completely insane. However, it is possible that this may have had an effect on one's thinking and their ability to question the established narrative. So yeah, I don't trust anyone with the top
shit,
hat,
almost died.
especially if we look back in history. These were the Masons that came in and repopulated many of these cities. This was part of their uniform. Not the top royal level, but big players for sure. And it was a means in which they would be able to be more malleable and controlled by their new societal norms of rising industry and production. Am I just mad as a hatter? Or is there perhaps something more to
Ooh,
the
got 'em
story of the
both
top
again,
hats?
baby.
Well, it gets even more interesting. So the question is, did the elite or top authorities of the time know of the neurotoxic effects of mercury? Because if so, then that would mean there was a purpose other than fashion behind these uniforms or fashionable top hats. Well, mercury causes Alzheimer's, schizophrenia, and depression. If people were going mad just because of working conditions and the products they used, then why would they be administering mercury-based medicine since the 1700s? Well, the blue
Right.
mass was a blue pill, which was a very common remedy for several illnesses such as syphilis, tuberculosis, constipation, parasites, and even as a pain medicine. Now obviously this is the story of how they did it back then. Literally, they would stick a syringe in their urethra and inject mercury. No joke, that's what the pirates like Blackbeard did. Even a cluster pump to deliver medical mercury enemas for quicker absorption. The story is that they just didn't know they were poisoning themselves. Because keep in mind,
It's cat.
the blue mass pill has a lot of mercury. Apparently, a typical daily dose of 2 pills would be 100 times the modern daily limit set by the Environmental Protection Agency in the US. So, if they were taking this basically for any illness, as a one cure-all method, which mercury is an
Like
anti-parasitic, antiseptic, and has several other healing properties, being used for over 3,000 years, but when given on a daily basis, or perhaps as some type of soma, or remedy for any sickness. But then you can imagine as they started to fill up these repopulated cities with poor and filthy habits, such as emptying chamber pots into the streets and no solid waste management, that over time, they would need to use this type of method of healing constantly and on a daily basis. At some point, the elite would have noticed the mental side effects and the long-term effects of heavy metal toxicity. So, then these pills would be used as a matrix drug, a way to keep people from thinking too much, a way of forgetting about higher realms and being locked into material reality, while at the same time dumbing our intelligence and ability to be curious of the realm we live in. We know these pills were used in London. The Edinburgh New Dispensatory, 1789, instructs the making as follows: Pilula ex Hydragyro, London, quicksilver pills. Take a purified quicksilver, extract of licorice, having the consistence of honey of each 2 drams, licorice, finely powdered, 1 dram. Rub the quicksilver with this extract of licorice until the globules disappear. Then, add the licorice powder. Mix them together. End of instructions.
Got me.
So this seems to have been a very popular pill. Oh, and Abraham Lincoln even took these blue mass pills for treatment of chronic melancholia. It was reported that during this time, Lincoln
Honest
experienced
Abe.
neurological symptoms, insomnia, tremor, and rage attacks, which suggests that he was suffering from mercury poisoning. He then realized something was up with these blue pills a few months after his inauguration and stopped taking them, and his symptoms disappeared, replaced by the patience that would mark his presidency, or at least that's what they say. Okay, or maybe it was time for him to wake up from the Matrix to implement a greater plan. Apparently, Lincoln was taking a dose of mercury on a daily basis that was 9,000 times over the safety standard of today.
Damn.
Also, Blue Mass, which is the name of the
Isaiah.
pill, is a Roman Catholic Mass celebrated in the United States since the 1930s. So is this some type of mass religious mental software that needs to be controlled through the subtle medication of the populace through a perceived miracle medicine said to cure all? Or was it doing the opposite? And if they knew of the effects of mercury poisoning, then why would you continue to use this method in the making of top hats, knowing full well that there were health concerns? Was this a procedure in which the masses were given uniforms and secretly drugged at the same time? Not only that, but all who took the pill were a part of the club, the culture, for this was the new norm. If you didn't have a top hat or take your medicine, there was something severely wrong with you. You're the weird one for not taking your meds. Where have we heard that before? It's not like this was never thought of in the past. Well, like I said, I don't trust anyone with a top hat, and you shouldn't either. Otherwise, you'll become a part of the mass or masses. You may go insane, and you may be unknowingly a part of a higher occult system. Stay weird, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Why was everyone constantly wearing these suits as uniforms, even on the beach? When hiking? It was almost as if they had no other clothes,
ran up
which
on
is
me.
very strange. Grooming everyone to become a professional, a businessman, an elite,
Magician?
a groomed influencer, controller.
Maybe that's what they wanted.
Anyways, I'm gonna say no to the blue pill, and so should you. Let us know your thoughts in the comments.
Hello to
and all
Hawaii,
we can help
Maui.
it.
If you're watching my videos from there, I doubt it. So a big hello to Hawaii, Maui. If you're watching my videos from there, I doubt it. So that's the map with the fireplaces. Lahaina, which is pronounced Luch Hai Nuch. The word Luch Hai Nuch means cruel or merciless sun.
It's up there.
I think you understand. Photo. Hawaii wildfires from the news. Destruction on Maui looks like a bomb went off, governor says. Also the governor, Josh Green. The surname is Green, so interesting. We're gonna see why it's so interesting. Says very real global warming caused conditions for deadly wildfire, but the world is not a spinning globe with curved water at 1,000 miles per hour. Why do you say global? I don't understand. So, how Hawaii plans to be the first United States state to run entirely on clean energy. This was posted exactly 5 years ago in 2019. But of course, clean energy after the electric company goes into bankruptcy, and then the investors, they produce their clean energy and you have to pay for it. So sad. Hey, pause the video here. Why am I seeing the initials, the letters D, E, W, and also Maui burst? I do not understand, with a blast of pineapple flavor, but it says burst Maui on my mind. And then there's do you know the official website? This is an official website. YouTube allows you to post official government websites, the AFRL. I am actually afraid to read the word that starts with the and then energy. Probably energy should be banned right now by the... Anyway, Air Force Maui Optical and Supercomputing Ammo site. Do you know that there's actually 2 sites like this in the United States? One is in New Mexico and the other one is Maui, Hawaii. So interesting. D-E-W. Why? I don't know. What everyone is missing is that the AFRL Directed Energy Directorate located on Maui. We delivered the United States Air Force first ever operational directed energy weapons. I'm just reading what the government is posting. I'm not saying anything. Hawaii has a robust emergency. You know Hawaii in the Second World War? So they had like 400 sirens and alarms set up, which is like one of the best places in the world to be announced if something bad happens. Well, it was silent during the... This is like from the news, okay? I'm not saying anything. President, the United States... POTUS, the president, was saying, we are laser focused. I like how they actually put it in words in front of your face. We are laser focused. Wait a minute. Laser. Hey, sorry. No, I'm just trying to understand. We are laser focused on getting aid to survivors, including critical needs assistance, a one-time $700 payment per household, not per person, per household, not 7,000 but 700. Laser focus. And then of course in the news it says political opponents and commentators described the sum as insulting and compared it with the more than 113 billion with a B from Babel worth of aid the US has sent to Ukraine as it defends itself against an ongoing Russian invasion. And on Monday, the government announced it was sending 200 million in defensive capabilities. Aren't the civilians of the United States of America more important in this case?
No.
This is the police in Hawaii issuing permission slips for people in Hawaii to go to their homes. So if you want to go to your home and come back and go again, you need a permission slip, just like in the Second World War, to go and come back. Traditional. So even though we live in a digital age, you still need paper permission slips. And then a group of volunteers. So people, common mortals like you and me, from the islands and surrounding areas, volunteers who sail from Malaya Bay in Maui. They form an assembly line on Kanapali Beach on Saturday, August 12th to unload donations from a boat. Maui residents have come together to donate water, food, and other essential supplies amid criticism of the government response. So, applause to the people. This is where the word, like the Abraham Lincoln stuff, we the people. At least we can still be the people sometimes, at least until the very end. So we the people, and I applaud the people. And of course, you and I, we must do the same if ever encounter, and if ever if we would ever be in such a situation, hopefully not, but yeah. So investors are calling Maui wildfire victims to buy their Hawaii land. I'm just reading the news. And Hawaii governor says that the state is looking to purchase land destroyed in Maui wildfires. So either it's going to be bought by the investors, private stuff, or by the government, like in Soviet Union times, Russia. Anyway, Hawaiian Electric the electric company in Hawaii slapped with 3 lawsuits after deadly wildfires. So now you understand the whole thing about clean energy and stuff. The Hawaiian Electric company is going to go down. Hawaiian Electric shares drop further as S&P downgrades utility to junk on August 15. So yeah, go bankruptcy soon. And this is with the location of the Air Force Maui Optical and Supercomputing Observatory, which is linked to, oh man, those initials on the drink, DEW. Anyway, so this was something news came out in 2017. Humans to blame for more than 80% of U.S. wildfires. I mean, it's mass media who says it's not me. So anyway, let's go back to people are saying, oh, they're hiding stuff. Well, 1, you can pause the video. 2, you can search for yourself on the official website. 3 as well. And I just love this. What POTUS said. We are laser focused. That's it. I'm out. See you next time. Take care.
Yeah. Hell yeah, man. Shit, on that note, I'm probably finna hop off this shit too. Gotta do some other shit, make some beats. I just say they better give me that kill.
Control of Alpha 2.
Sheesh.
The Russians have Sector Delta. Engage target to that objective. Packet for us.
I tried to blow him up, I didn't get it. He hopped out the perfect time though. On that note, I'll holler at y'all motherfuckers later though. Peace.
We are moving to attack Alpha 2. One down! The enemy has secured Sector Echo. I need a reload!
Do not help me! Not safe!